McCormick.
Be the one I was born for this. Whip, run me like a racehorse, pull me like a ripcord, break me down. Be the slip, word upon your lip, better that you rip, break me down and build me up, whatever it takes. 'Cause I love the adrenaline in my veins. I do whatever it takes.
All right. Here we go, Scranton. Here we go. Hey, how many of y'all here today, are ready to retire Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and put Donald Trump in the White House? And how about firing Bob Casey and sending Chuck Schumer packing? I'm ready, man. We got to get things back on track. We got to get things back on track in our country. And this election, I know everybody says it, but I want you to think, you people that have been around for a while in this audience, think of another election in your lifetime where the stakes were so high. What we're going to do here is we're going to change the course of our country, and we're going to get America back on track in this election. And it depends on you. It depends on everybody in this room today. So thank you for being here. We got to win on November 5th. So, I'm a seventh-generation Pennsylvanian. My dad was born in Indiana County. My mom was born in Punxsutawney, which reminds me of my opponent, Punxsutawney Bob. Do you notice? He only sticks his head up every 6 years during an election time. I'm not kidding you. You all in Scranton, you know it. You never see him except in an election year. I grew up in Bloomsburg. I played football and wrestled in places like Shamokin and Selinsgrove and North Schuylkill and Shikellamy. And I went to West Point. I wrestled on the wrestling team at West Point with a co-captain. Ranger School, 82nd Airborne Division. And then I came back to Pennsylvania, and I worked in business. I ran a company that created hundreds of jobs. So listen, I feel like the luckiest guy in the world. I have lived the American dream, but we should worry that American dream is not going to be available for our kids unless we get this country back on track. Right now, we got to do it right now. Now's the moment. And we got a choice. We got a choice in this election. It could not be more stark. It's a choice between strength, the strength of Donald Trump that we saw on that stage in Butler, right? Put his fist up in the air, fight, fight, fight. Right? Against the weakness that we've seen in Biden, Harris, and I'm going to say Bob Casey because he votes with them 99% of the time. He's a rubber stamp. It's a choice. It's a choice between common sense policies. It's common sense that you can't spend $5 trillion of new money and not have prices go up with inflation. It's common sense that you can't leave our border wide open and have 4,000 fentanyl deaths last year, right here in Pennsylvania. That's right, that you know about. We had 116,000 fentanyl deaths nationally last year. So for all of you who remember the Vietnam War, in 8 years of fighting, we had 58,000 deaths. We had 2 Vietnams last year because of those cartels and that fentanyl coming across our border, coming into our communities, killing our kids. And it's the direct responsibility of Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Bob Casey for not securing our border. We got a war. We got a war on fossil fuels, right? You don't have to actually say you're going to ban fracking to ban fracking, right? You just put regulations and red tape and lawsuits and environmental mandates that mandate that by 2032, 70% of all new vehicles are going to be electric vehicles. So those of you who want pickup trucks, combustion engines, good luck. It's common sense. We got to open up our energy sector. It's the driver of economic prosperity in Pennsylvania. And we got crime, violent crime in our cities, in our suburbs, coming out into the rural areas. It's driven by illegal immigration. It's driven by fentanyl. It's driven by it's driven by defunding the police. So we're in trouble. And we've got to have leadership in the White House. We got to have leadership in the Senate to get our country back on track. My opponent is a career politician. He's been in elected office for 30 years. 30 years. When he first ran for office, the #1 song was the Macarena. Who remembers the Macarena? That was a long time ago, right? That was a long time ago. He has been weak when we need strength, and he has voted time and again on the most liberal policies. So Bob Casey, he went to the Senate to change Washington. Washington changed Bob Casey. He's not the guy you elected 30 years ago, 18 years ago. And he is running against someone who's a 7th-generation Pennsylvanian, someone who's an outsider, someone who's a businessman, someone who's a West Point graduate, someone who's a combat veteran, and somebody's going to go to Washington and shake things up. Man, we got to do it. This is the most important election of your lifetime, and I was at the Penn State-Illinois game. It was the whiteout, my first whiteout, right? It was pretty good. And I had a tailgate, and I had a couple hundred kids there, Penn State students, and I was talking to them, and I stopped in the middle, and I said, you know what? And I think most of this is true for many of you in this room. I said, I'm going to be okay no matter what happens in this election. And the reason is I'm kind of old. I got more years behind me than in front of me. But for those young people, you young people in this audience, this election is going to determine whether the America that we've all loved, the America that's been the most exceptional country in the world, is there for all of you. And right now, we're not on a good path. This is for your kids, for your grandkids. We got to get things back on track. So I said to those young people, you need to treat this election like your life depends on it. Because it does, right? It does. So I want to tell you how grateful we are to have President Trump coming to Pennsylvania again and again and again. This Keystone State is going to determine the presidency. It's going to determine the majority in the Senate, and it's going to get America back on track. What you do on November 5th is going to change the direction of our country. It's going to truly make America great again. It's going to make Pennsylvania great again. God bless you, Scranton. God bless America. Thank you.